Roots to Wings, these lessons have helped me grow from a place of stability, my home, into a time of freedom and exploration, my move abroad. The roots of the lessons I've learned, they've helped me grow wings to fly towards this new chapter. Even though I'm leaving one place behind, I'm not really leaving my lessons. They're a part of my foundation and will guide me wherever I go.
About the lessons I've learned recently, so most of them are kind of closer towards the end of the year, and I find them really invaluable, and I'm going to take them with me when I move overseas. And the things you learn in life, even when you're transitioning and moving into a new place, I think it's really important to retain certain information and certainly things you've learned and not let go of them, but help you to grow and develop as a person. So I just want to read through some things that I think are quite important that I've learned kind of recently, especially towards the end of last year. This is my current journal. So the last journal I showed, I think the video was called something about what I've learned in my 20s or something. That was my old journal. It was a moleskin one, and I'm pretty loyal to moleskin and I always use them, but I found this one and I thought it was really cute. It's really beaten up now because I kind of take it everywhere with me, and when I was in Thailand recently it just kind of got thrown around quite a bit. But yeah, I've nearly finished this one actually. So I do have another one lined up, ready to use. It's from Thailand actually. It's from the elephant sanctuary. It was an ethical one. I love elephants. I would never go somewhere that is harmful towards them. Okay, so anyways, moving on. So things that I've learned and I'll take with me. So I recently read this book. It's called On Giving Up, and it's a philosophy book, and it talks about how so much of what we say is governed by censorship. So you wouldn't go in the street and start a conflict with somebody because you don't like the look of them. If you were in a conversation with somebody and they were really pissing you off, you might make a snide little remark, but you mightn't even do that. You might just be pleasant towards them to avoid conflict. And that's what it means by censorship. We use censorship. It's this kind of inanimate object that's a part of every self, and it's a self-protective mechanism, but it's also a self-starving mechanism in terms of it speaks in the book about sexuality and violence. You're not gonna go up to somebody and in the street that you think is beautiful and start saying to them, oh, I really want to have sex with you right now. That's what it means by censorship. And so we can't really express how we truly feel often at times, because of this self-censorship. And obviously people's self-censorship varies in terms of how censoring they are, if they censor themselves at all really. And there's this character in this, I think it's a book by Freud, who was a psychologist, but it talks about this protagonist of the book who does not believe in self-censorship. He says that he feels that he can't truly connect with the people around him because nothing is true of what they say. They could really not like you but be nice towards your face type thing, and you don't really know how they're feeling. And Freud describes this person as his heart is his mouth, and he refuses to speak within censorship. And it's quite funny actually, because a lot of people that meet me, this is where I'm kind of drawing in the lesson I've learned, is that I'm very direct, and I'm kind of like the protagonist in this Freudian novel, in that I don't really believe in self-censorship, in that for me, how I see it is that if I want to have true connection with somebody, I'm not going to censor myself. If I don't like them, I'm going to tell them to their face why I don't like them. And I think that, in all honesty, I think it's, from my perspective, it's a respectful thing to do. I'm not wasting that person's time. I'm not forcing that person into a friendship with me. I'm letting them know where they stand with me. Obviously, everything within reason and everything that aligns with my moral compass. I'm not going to be like horrible to somebody for no reason. That's not what I mean by I don't believe in self-censorship. But you know, if somebody's getting on my nerves, I might tell them directly and be like, hey, this is bothering me. Could you please stop it? If not, I'm going to leave, or something like that, you know? And Freud argues in this story that basically this person who does not self-censor is kind of foolish and believes in his own narcissistic image and deprives himself of social connection. And I thought that that was quite interesting, but I think about it now, and what Freud is arguing makes a lot of sense, because this person who isn't self-censoring like myself doesn't really operate in the paradigm of the society, because everyone else is self-censoring. So everybody else is able to connect with one another through this censorship. Whereas people who do not self-censor actually kind of get rid of opportunities for themselves in a lot of ways in social connection. And I thought that that was really interesting, because that's really true of my life. It's not necessarily that I burn bridges, but I kind of like put people off with how direct I am, and people kind of find it terrifying at times. So yeah, I just thought that that was a really interesting thing, and I think that I probably need to learn to censor myself a bit more. And I think that that probably involves not speaking my mind so much, and you know, I feel like I do already take into account people's feelings when I say things, but also I need to take in like their sensitivity, like, because I'm not quite a sensitive person. Well, I am really sensitive, but I've kind of grown out of my sensitivity in terms of like, I don't know how to describe this and how, if anything, that it can change, but growing up I was a really, really sensitive person, and I would take things very literally into heart. But now I just kind of see it as like, that's what somebody is saying. You just kind of take it or leave it, brush it off. Like, it doesn't actually have to have any effect on you. Like, your life is your mental reality, and how much weight you put in things, and where you decide to put your attention towards. And like, being negative and misconstruing things, and like, yeah, just like focusing on the negative is just a trap, and a mental trap. And I found that I was quite like this when I was younger, and it was just, everything was quite sad and grim, honestly, because I was putting myself in a position where I would only kind of look at the negative things, or take something that somebody said that made me feel a little bit off, and like catastrophize it into something much worse and bigger than it was. And you know, it's just, it wasn't the way to live. And yeah, and then through that, I guess I just started to not censor myself as much, because I didn't care as much about what other people thought. But yeah, now I'm learning that maybe I need to regain some of that self-censorship in order to open up possibilities for myself. So on to the next piece of advice. So this is really important for me in particular. I don't know if this is relatable for anybody else, but once you make your decision, don't look back and second guess. And don't look back and second guess yourself. Be firm and confident. And obviously this like isn't a hard and fast rule, but for me personally, a lot of the time when I make quite a big decision, I start to second guess myself and I go, oh, like, maybe I didn't take this and this into consideration. I start to overthink it, and then I start to go back on my word, and it's just like, it's not good. And I really need to be more firm and confident and have more confidence in myself, and be like, yeah, I made that decision and I'm happy with it, and I'm gonna bear the consequences of it. And you know, I've already thought about it, I've already weighed up the options either side, and I decided to go with this one, and then just not think about it anymore. But I often just tend to go back, take a step back, and then go, oh, and think about it all over again. And I just think that A, it's a waste of time, B, it kind of like, I try to be, to the best of my ability, a very consistent and reliable person. But when I'm not being firm and confident in my decisions, I can't provide that consistency and reliability to other people because I'm second guessing myself. So it's kind of like, for me, it's counterintuitive to my aims of like who I try to be as a person, and like what my core values are and what's important to me. So yeah, I definitely need to be more firm and confident in my decisions. The next piece of advice is that in moments of pressure, believe in yourself and remember your strength. I feel like, and this is probably quite a relatable one, when there's a lot of pressure on me, I tend to freak out, panic, and collapse a little bit. And I think that it's time I gain some strength, and probably a lot of you out there as well, and just have a little bit more trust in yourself, and know that like you've gotten through tough things in your life. Obviously everyone in different and varying degrees, but you know, you've got life experience, and if this brings you down a little bit, that's okay. But try and trust yourself, and you know, put your best foot forward. And I know that's easier said than done, but you know, pressure is a normal thing to experience in life, and I think that personally I need to learn to remember my strength a little bit and become a little bit more level-headed in times of pressure. This is a really big one I learnt. Some people are genuinely committed to misunderstanding you. Don't waste your time engaging. So sometimes people that you encounter mightn't be your biggest fan, and that is completely fine. If they don't like you, they don't like you, get over it. But if you do something and it impacts them, and you try to explain why you did that, and that you, in terms of the situation I'm thinking of, sacrifice something for myself to give somebody else guidance and help them out in a situation, but they didn't see it that way. They saw it in a negative way, and I tried to explain to them, and they were just didn't want anything to do with me, didn't like me, and just told me about that. And that's fine, but you don't have to sit there, and especially if you do something that's well-intentioned for somebody else and they don't want to see it that way, because what in this situation, what was reality isn't what that person wanted the reality to be. So yeah, just some people, and I get this a lot with my sister as well. She's kind of, well, it's actually ended now, but she was going through a phase where she strongly disliked me, just for whatever reason. We're sisters, I guess sisters fight. But we weren't fighting at the time, but she just decided she didn't like me as a person, which fair enough, you know, whatever, you're entitled to feel how you feel, and I respected that, and I didn't contact her. But she just found fault in everything I did, and in all honesty, I think she was going through something, and she's projecting a lot of that onto me, and you know, she was just genuinely, everything I did, it was turned into a negative. And I think that that time in her life, she was just genuinely committed to misunderstanding me, because if I was at fault, if I was doing everything wrong, then she could let out all her anger on me. So sometimes you just have to disengage when people are behaving like that, and you don't have to try and justify or explain or let somebody know that you're being well-intentioned. It should be pretty obvious, and it's often at times, and this is the ironic thing, obvious to people around that what you did was well-intentioned, and it came from a good place, and it was actually a positive thing that you did. But because this person is not in the best headspace, not doing so well, struggling with their own things, they are going to be genuinely committed to misunderstanding you, and that's okay. But just don't waste your time engaging, and that's a really big thing I've learned. This is another one. I'd rather be more selective with who I spend my energy on, instead of being in transactional or unreciprocated friendships and relationships, as I'm no longer scared of being alone. So I used to be really scared of being alone, and like not having plans on the weekend, feeling like a loser, like not having a lot of friends, this and that. But in the time that I didn't have a lot of friends, it made me reflect on all my friendships throughout life, and it made me realize that in a lot of them I was being used. I wasn't being looked out for as a friend, and they were kind of just friendships are a little bit transactional, or they just didn't really care about me. And it was a hard thing to come to terms with, especially when some of these people have been in your life for so long. And when you have time to just sit and reflect, it kind of dawns on you how that can sometimes be the case, and in that time alone. And now it's made me realize I would rather have a lot less friends than be in friendships and relationships that are transactional. Sorry, my legs are getting numb. But also to be more selective with who I'm friends with and who I allow to come close to me and be in my life and my space. So that's something really important. And I'm no longer afraid of being alone, even though, especially at this age, it can be quite daunting. I spent a really, really long amount of time by myself, and you could see that as a negative thing. I definitely could socially interact more, and I would like to. It's just hard because my close friends are busy often, and a lot of people that I hold very dear live interstate. So it's hard for me to interact with other people as much as I can. But I'm not actually scared of being alone anymore. And also my mum's like my best friend, and she's always there for a call if I'm feeling a little bit lonely. So this is another thing I've learned. Often you can't help people. They have to learn things in their own time when they are ready. And this is really important, because I thought I was being well-intentioned, trying to advise somebody on something, but they weren't ready to learn that lesson yet. And it's really hard when you've been through something similar to that person, and you see it kind of unfolding, and you're trying to warn them because you care about them, right? And it's like, I went through this and it was horrible for XYZ reasons, and I care about this person. I don't want them to go through the same thing. But everyone learns things in their own time, and it's not your responsibility to intervene and kind of help them, because sometimes they really don't want that, and it's probably invaluable for them to experience it for themselves and the hurt that comes with it, so that they learn for themselves. And I think that that's really important for me, because I think that I try often to help people, but they're just, they're not in a position, it's not their time in their journey to have learnt that lesson yet, and it will come to them when they're ready. So yeah, it's best not to intervene. Next thing is enjoying my own company is such a blessing, and I'm really grateful for it. So that's something I've learnt. Yeah, I'm not so super daunted about moving overseas because, you know, I'm used to spending time alone, and I'm really grateful in terms of the fact that I have 3 friends in the Netherlands, and one of my adorable, gorgeous friends is picking me up from the airport, and she's like commuting, I think like 2-3 hours, because she doesn't live in Amsterdam, and she's coming to pick me up from the airport. She is the sweetest, most beautiful soul ever. But anyways, so I am lucky in terms of I do have a little bit of a support bubble there, but I'm not scared because I'm okay with being alone. And yeah, it's going to be daunting being in a new country and everything, but I think I'm fully capable, and all these lessons that I've learned will really help me through to that journey. And yeah, it's such a blessing that I enjoy my own company. This next one is I no longer care what people think of me. That's their business and has no impact on my emotional state anymore. And the older you get, the more you see that people's perceptions of you are largely a reflection of themselves and the stage of their journey. So I don't mean this in like a completely disregard. If you've done something bad, don't self-reflect, don't learn to be better. But sometimes, like I've said, people can just not like you just from the look of you. And I've had a lot of this recently. Like, people don't even get to know me and they're very judgmental. And I was in an environment kind of recently where this was like happening and manifesting, and it was like these people like hated me but like had never had a conversation with me before. And I think it was a lot to do with like making judgments on me based on like my appearance and not really knowing anything about me, and then just kind of making all these assumptions. But yeah, so don't get caught up on what people think about you, especially if they don't know you, especially, yeah, if they don't know your true authentic self, if they haven't sat down and had a conversation with you, just ignore it. And that stuff used to really get to me. I try to be the best person I can, and I'm always the first to acknowledge when I'm wrong. But yeah, it's just water under the bridge. Don't let it affect you emotionally. It shouldn't, because it's got nothing to do with you, really, honestly. Yeah. This is something I really need to improve. And I think that I wanted to include this last because although I've learned all these lessons recently, I am quite self-aware of this behavior and tendency I have. And I don't really know what it stems from. And like, I've spoken with my therapist about it, and it's probably coming from, I have a lot of trauma from like my childhood and developmental stages, and I used to have incredibly low self-worth. I think it's a bit triggering. I don't even want to talk about some really unhealthy behaviors I had in the past. But now, as I've healed and gotten better, it's kind of manifested into this new behavior which is toxic towards myself, but it's not triggering as those other behaviors in the past might be that I'm not going to bring up. But I need to stop self-sabotaging, and often I'll do this if somebody has made an assumption about me and they don't know me, and it's pretty clear that they've made this assumption about me. They might voice it, or they might imply it. This is so toxic. But I'm just like, I can't even be bothered to prove this person wrong and to let them know who I really am, I'm just gonna act the way that they expect. And I'll just kind of put it on and act like a bitch. Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on here, but you know what? It's my channel, so I'm gonna swear. But I'll act in like a really nasty way to be like, yeah, you're right, I'm horrible, like, cool, good on you. And I don't know why I do it. I really don't know why I do it. And yeah, it's a self-sabotaging behavior, and it's also like in other things like romantic relationships, I'll be like, oh, I really like this person, I'm just gonna like ghost them or be really nasty to them, and just like it's just, or like yeah, it's just this thing that has kind of manifested. And I'm trying to think of another example. Yeah, it's just kind of like, or something positive happens for me and I'll like turn it down, which is don't even get me into it, because I actually have so much regret when it comes to things I have done to self-sabotage. There was this really amazing opportunity I got and I said no, because I didn't think I deserved it deep down, and you know, that's just not where I want to be, and also how I treat people I care about, or people that assume ill of me without really getting to know me, and then like acting how they expect me to act. Like it's just, A, it's childish, B, it's just ingenuine, it's not my authentic self, and it, not that I really care about my reputation to say, but it does damage my reputation, and it also hurts people that I care about, so that's something I really need to improve on. And it's also detrimental to me in that I don't get opportunities that, you know, I am deserving of. So yeah, thanks so much for watching. I think it's a little bit of a long one, but I hope you enjoyed it and that you gained something from it. But these are some things that are going to be foundational for me in my life lessons. And you know, maybe something is important for you, maybe you think it's a load of garbage, but I hope you gain something from it. So thank you so much.